Credit cards can be a great way to build your credit score and get some amazing rewards, but there are a few things that you need to watch out for. In this video, I'm going to show you the biggest mistakes that people make with their credit cards so you don't make the same mistakes. What's up, winners? My name is Nam. If you're new here, welcome. Here we talk all things credit. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. Credit cards can be a great way to build your credit score and get some amazing rewards. But here are a few things that you need to watch out for. If you are not careful, using credit cards can actually hurt your credit score. A lot of people make mistakes with the credit cards that can damage your credit history and make it harder to get approved for financing in the future. In this video, I will show you the biggest mistakes that people make with their credit cards so you can avoid them. I'll give you some tips on how to use your credit card responsibly and get the most out of it. The first one is don't max out your credit cards. Listen up, folks. When it comes to credit cards, there's one rule that you absolutely must follow. Never, under any circumstance, let your credit card reach its maximum limit. Why, you ask? Well, it's all about something called credit utilization. Basically, it's a fancy way of saying how much debt you have compared to your total credit limit. So let's just say that you have a credit limit of $1,000 and a balance of $500. That means that you are utilizing 50% of your credit. And in the eyes of the lenders, that makes you about as risky as a game of Russian roulette with a fully loaded revolver. Ideally, you want to keep this number under 30%. But let's be real, the lower the better, preferably under 10%. And if you do max out your card, it's like a punch in the face to your credit score. The amount that you owe makes up 30% of your credit score, which is pretty much like the MVP of your credit. So the less that you owe, the better off you'll be. Now, just because your card is maxed out for one day, it does not mean that you're doomed forever. But when the statement closes, that's when the damage is done. That happens every 28 to 31 days, so once that cycle ends, that's the number that gets reported to the credit bureaus, and that's what affects your credit score. But if you are a credit card ninja and looking to increase your credit limit, there's a sneaky way to go about it. If you want to increase your credit limit, max out your card and then pay it off a couple times within the same month, and then request for a credit limit increase. This will show the credit card company that the limit is not enough and you are spending more than your limit. The next mistake is not to use your credit card to withdraw cash from an ATM. Well, let me tell you, using a credit card for this is like putting a fire out by pouring gasoline on it. It may seem a good idea at the moment, but trust me, it's gonna cause some serious damage. Here's the deal. When you use a credit card to withdraw cash, you usually get hit with a cash advance fee, which is basically a charge for the privilege of taking out cash. On top of that, you will also have to pay interest on the cash advance starting from the day that you take it out. And let me tell you, the interest rate for cash advances is usually much higher than the rate for a regular credit purchase. But it gets worse. Using your credit card to withdraw cash can also hurt your credit score by increasing your credit utilization ratio, which will increase the credit that you're using compared to the amount of credit that is available to you. Basically, it's like borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, and it's not a good look. So the bottom line is try to stick with using your debit card to withdraw cash from an ATM if you can. But if you do find yourself in a pinch and you need to use your credit card, just be aware of the fees and interest charges that will apply and make sure that you pay off the cash advance as soon as possible to avoid any unnecessary pain. The next mistake is don't close old credit cards without considering the consequences. So have you ever thought about closing some of your old credit card accounts? There is a lot of confusion about closing accounts, so I just want to make sure that I clear it up so you can fully understand of how it actually works when you close an account. You see, when you open up a credit card account, it's like adding a new friend to your squad. It makes your average age of accounts look younger. But when you close an account, it's like unfriending someone on Facebook. It doesn't make your average age of accounts disappear, it still stays there, haunting you for at least 10 years. And if that account was in good standing, it will still have a positive effect on your credit score, pretty much like an ex who still speaks highly of you. But if you close an account, it will reduce your overall credit availability, having less cash in your pocket. So let's just say that you have 2 credit cards and a total limit of $2,000. If you choose to close one of them, now it will show that you have a total limit of $1,000, which means that your credit utilization will be much more sensitive. But if you are someone who doesn't leave high balances on your credit cards, then closing an account won't really have much of an effect on your overall score. So the only time that I would recommend closing a credit card account is if it has an annual fee. Some of these annual fee credit cards have little value to you. So rather than paying that $100 or $700 annual fee, you might as well cancel it if you can't get any benefit from it. It's like getting rid of a subscription that you never use. But if you do have credit cards that don't have an annual fee, I honestly wouldn't even consider closing them because they would only help with your credit profile. Plus, they always report positive information. Even if you don't even use them, just make sure that you use them at least every 6 months or every year so the issuer does not close the account on you. Just like checking out on an old flame just to see if they're single. I know this video is all about avoiding credit card mistakes that can ruin you financially. Here's something that you can do right now to save money, which is by switching to Mint Mobile, the sponsor of this video. You might have already seen ads from this company already from Ryan Reynolds, who is also an owner, but let me quickly tell you how awesome their service is. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. Why should you pay more to get access to the same network? Believe me, I've been a customer for over 8 years. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to digital eSIMs cards now, you can sign up and activate immediately on your phone from the comfort of your own home. So there's no need to stand around waiting in line at those big wireless stores anymore. Even if your phone is not eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. You can also keep your current device and phone number and easily switch services. All Mint Mobile plans includes unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. Use my link down in the description to get premium wireless starting at $15 a month at mintmobile.com/NamWin. The next huge mistake that you should avoid at all costs when using a credit card is to not make any late payments or missed payments altogether. You see, your FICO score is like a report card for grown-ups, and your payment history accounts for 35% of it. So there are 2 key dates that you need to know when it comes to credit cards: the statement closing date and the payment due date. Your statement closing date is like a snapshot of your credit card balance, and it's what gets shown to the credit bureaus. And your payment due date is like the deadline to avoid late payments or interest charges. So let's just say that you got a statement cycle from January 1st to January 31st on your credit cards with a $1,000 limit, and you leave a balance of $500 on January 31st. You will get a statement in the mail or email saying that you have to pay $500 by February 21st. That's typically 3 weeks after the statement closing date. Now on February 21st, you have the opportunity to make the minimum payment. Sometimes this is a percentage of the overall balance, or such a flat amount, which could be like $50. So if you were to pay just the minimum payment, this will avoid you having a late payment. But the remaining balance will be carried over to the next month, and this amount will be charged interest. Meaning that the next time that you get a bill, the balance will be bigger plus any other charges that you put on that card. Now, if you were to pay the $500 in full rather than the minimum payment, this will make you free and clear and would not cost you any interest. But if you do miss the deadline, it's like being late for a dinner date with your partner. You get hit with a late payment fee ranging anywhere between $25 to $35. But don't worry, mistakes happen. It's like your first fight with your spouse. You typically can smooth things over by calling a customer service rep and explain the situation and your loyalty to the company. It might not always work, but it is always worth a shot and try to get some of that money back. And this is totally different from a late payment that shows up on your credit report, which is like a scar on your credit, and it will have a significant negative impact on your credit for years. It's like getting a tattoo of your ex's name. It can drop your credit score by 100 points or more, and it's hard to remove. So my suggestion for this problem is to set up auto payments. It's like having a reminder on your phone for your dinner date, so you never forget to pay your bill and always show up on time. The next mistake that I see a lot of people doing is by applying for too many cards at once. The ideal ratio of applications, think of it like a shopping spree, is about every 4 to 5 months. This way you can limit your hard inquiries and it'll give you enough time to collect those sign-up bonuses. And don't get me wrong, I love collecting reward points and miles as much as the next person, but for more credit cards that you apply for, the harder it will be for future applications, just like your closet being too cluttered. Now there are some exceptions to the rule. Every single credit card issuer has their own set of rules that they follow, but they don't actually advertise. For instance, American Express has this rule called the 290 rule, meaning that you only can get 2 credit cards from American Express within 90 days. Other issuers may have a similar rule, so that's something that you have to be aware of before you apply. So additionally, every time that you apply for a credit card, you'll get hit with a hard inquiry on your report. Even though this is a small percentage of your overall FICO score, they do add up. And it does tend to be a red flag by lenders showing that you are seeking for more debt. Now, applying for 2 or even 3 credit cards in one day is really not a problem, but it becomes a problem when there's time between applications. Say 1 or 2 weeks between applications. Because if you were to do all the application at once, it is possible whenever the credit card issuer is pulling your credit that they may not see the hard inquiry that you did previously, so it will not affect your approval. So my suggestion is to take advantage of pre-qualify or pre-approval offers so you will know that you will be approved before you even apply. Credit cards from Apple and also American Express all now have this function that allows you to pre-qualify for their credit cards. So you know exactly whether or not you get approved if you decide to go through the whole application. Other issuers don't have this guarantee, meaning that it is possible that you can still get denied even though that you have a high probability of getting approved. The best time frame to apply for credit cards is usually between 4 and 5 months. This gives enough time between applications for inquiries to fall off and just make it look like you're not seeking for more debt. Another big no-no that I see all too often with credit card use is carrying a balance from month to month. The whole point of credit cards is to use them to your advantage and not get caught up in a never-ending cycle of debt. Because when you're constantly carrying a balance, not only does that cost you more money in interest, but it becomes harder and harder to pay it off. It's like being stuck in quicksand. The more that you struggle, the deeper that you will sink. My rule of thumb is simple. If you can't pay for it with cash right now, don't put it on a credit card. Now, I know what you're thinking, but wait, that's the whole point of credit cards. I don't have cash right now. And you're right, but this is where credit cards with 0 APR intro offers come in. This can be a great way to finance big purchases and pay it off over time without accruing interest. But here's the catch, it takes discipline. And I know that since you're watching my channel, you're already on the right track of making smart financial decisions. Just remember, debt is debt. Whether or not you're paying interest on it, you will still negatively impact your credit utilization and bring down your credit score. So just make sure that you're paying off whatever balance that you put on your credit card before the intro offer ends. Otherwise, you're gonna be singing the I'm in debt blues. Moving on to the next mistake, which is by applying for the wrong cards in the wrong order. Okay, so you wanna know what is the secret of getting the best credit cards? Don't just apply for any old piece of plastic. You gotta be strategic about it. Now, most people have heard of the Chase 524 rule, where you can only open up 5 credit cards within the last 24 months to be approved for another one. So the key here is to start with Chase first, because let's be real, they have some of the best credit cards out there and you don't wanna miss up on those sweet reward points. But where do you figure out which cards to get first? I'll tell you, the real MVPs are the Reddit forums. They got this page called Churny, which is just a fancy term for getting credit cards for all the sign-up bonuses. And they have this flow chart that breaks it down for you. It's like choosing your own adventure for credit cards. It even tells you which route to take, whether you are aiming for travel or cash back. Just be aware that this chart can be outdated at times, but for the most part, it is pretty spot on. The page will be linked down in the description. Now let's talk about the biggest mistake that you should not make on your credit cards, which is paying your credit cards the wrong way. Let's just say that you're trying to boost your credit score to the moon and back. In order to do that, you gotta be paying your credit cards like a boss. The key is to know when your statement cycle closes and when the payment due date is. So let's just say that your statement cycle is between January 1st and January 31st. And let's just say that you got a $500 balance on a credit card with a $1,000 credit limit. Now you got 2 options. Pay off the balance right now or wait until you get the statement in the mail and pay it then. But let me tell you, the best option is to pay off the balance a few days before January 31st. This way the credit bureaus will see that you have a 0 balance at the end of the statement cycle and your credit score will soar. But let's just say that you don't pay off before January 31st and just wait for the statement. Well, then the credit bureaus will see that you got a 50% utilization rate and that's not too good for your credit score. But don't worry if you cannot pay it off all at once, just make as many payments as you can before the statement closes. As long as you pay it off before the next cycle, then you're good to go. But the bottom line is don't wait for the statement to come in the mail or wait for autopay, because by then it's usually too late. Just pay it off before the cycle closes and watch your credit score take off. And remember, a low utilization rate is the key to a high credit score. So make sure that the balance is paid off before the next statement cycle. All right, so as a closing note, credit cards are like wild animals. If you don't tame them, they will turn on you and eat your face off. But if you are smart about it, you'll be able to handle it and get the rewards for it. Before you guys go off and watch another video, I do have a free newsletter that you can join where I share my best credit tips down in the description. And if you want to hang out with me some more, come check out these videos over here.